How to make a power-up foam plane Part 3. In Part 1 and Part 2 of this series, we made all the parts, and they are ready for assembly. We are going to glue the parts together. Before doing that, we should do something called dry fitting. Gluing is often an irreversible process. Therefore, we'd better be sure that the parts are really ready for gluing. Drying fitting is a way to verify the readiness. If the tabs don't go into the slots readily, we can squeeze the tabs a little, so that they can go into the slots easily. Being in the slots, tabs should tend to restore their original shape and form tight fits. Okay, the foam parts fit each other very well. Let's take a look at the paper parts. The lower mounting pieces went in fine, and everything is looking good. Here, we are going to use UHU pour. We could also use other glue. Those who are not familiar with working with foam should be aware that many glue kinds would eat foam so badly that they are not suitable for gluing foam parts. Therefore, if you are going to use a glue that you don't know if it eats foam, test it on a scrap piece of foam first. This is a scrap piece of foam. We are not using it to test the UHU glues since we already knew the glue would be good for foam and paper. Rather, we are using it to make a disposable glue stick. The way to use this particular glue is to apply it on both the pieces to be joined together. Then, press the two pieces together. The glue will generally hold the pieces together. Although it may take days for the glue to dry completely, for our small planes, the joint will be strong enough as soon as the glued pieces are pressed together. Okay, trim the edge and we have a very handy glue stick. We choose to glue the vertical stabilize last because we don't want it to get in the way when we need to press the wing against a flat surface such as a table. So, let's start with the elevons. Following the original crease, we fold the elevons roughly 90 degrees, so that we can use the crease for easy alignment. Since we don't want to make a mess with glue onto the cutting mat, we need to use some scrap paper to protect the cutting mat. Let's put glue on the foam part first because foam doesn't absorb the glue as paper does. As a result, the glue on foam dries more slowly than the glue on paper. By putting glue on foam first and then on paper, the glue dries and sync better. We cover the joint area with the glue on the foam part. We spread the glue thin on the foam part using the stick we made earlier. And we don't need to worry if some glue goes beyond the joint area. Spreading the glue thin is a good habit to have for model plane builders, because we want our planes to be light and the glue to dry quickly. Align one end of the elevon with one end of the trailing edge, and push the crease of the elevon against the trailing edge. Now the elevon is positioned correctly. Apply pressure to secure the bond. Do the same with the other elevon, but on the other side of the wing in symmetry. Now lay the wing with the elevons flat on the table and apply pressure on it. It's always a good idea to do something like this to the airframe that you are building, from time to time, to ensure the airframe remains straight, because sometimes freehand handling of the airframe may distort it inadvertently. It's much easier to rectify the problem when the glue is not dry yet. The elevons are done now. Next, assemble the paper mount. Identify the areas on the foam piece and on one of the lower power-up mount piece that needs to be covered with glue. Once again, put glue on the foam first, and spread it well. We should put glue on only one side of the part. Find the two red marks on the paper part and spread glue only on one side of the marks. Slide in the paper piece and push it to the very end. Check to see if red marks on the paper part are aligned to the foam edge. When everything is in the right place, apply pressure to make the bond permanent. At this moment, slide the knife in the groove to make the paper part have a better contact with the foam part and keep the paper groove open for the tab on the power-up module. Next, we can glue the upper mount piece to the lower mount piece. Since the pieces are all symmetrical, we can either hide or expose the printed words in red color on these pieces. There is one trick we can employ here, using a small piece of paper as a guide to align the slit in the upper piece with the groove of the lower piece. Put glue and spread it on the lower power-up mount piece. Also, put glue and spread it on an upper power-up mount piece. Carefully align the upper piece with the lower piece. And use the small piece of folded paper as a guide to help the alignment. Lay the work-in-process airframe on the table to make the bond final. Before we go too far in the building process, let's check if the mount that we have just put together works. Be careful here because before the mount is fully built and the glue cures completely, the mount is relatively weak and needs to be handled with extra care. Yes, it works. Let's stop here and call it the end of part 3. We will continue in part 4. Thanks for watching.